Howdy, and welcome back. Today we're going to be doing my first election prediction. This is maybe not the most realistic in terms of who the candidates are going to be. It's very realistic for the Republican, as you can see. But for the Democrat, which we're going to have to find out. We're really just going to have to see. So, this, I will say right now, I'm a big fan of Andy Beshear. That's why I'm sort of throwing him in here, throwing him into the ring for this first ever prediction that I've got going on. And y'all will see why. So, J.D. Vance, of course, incumbent vice president, seen as sort of this successor to Donald Trump by the base. So I do think that, barring a constitutional amendment or Supreme Court decision that allows Donald Trump to run for a third term in 2028, I think we can reasonably see J.D. Vance winning the nomination pretty easily. So J.D. Vance is from Ohio, Andy Beshear is from Kentucky. So just to point out where both candidates are from. So we've got a bunch of safe states for both candidates. Of course, this is all going to matter in terms of how the environment is going to look. Granted, this will be 2028, so, October 2nd, 2025, kind of a little different in terms of where things are, but this is where I think things are going to be by 2028, November 7th. So, of course, Beshear and Vance each have their own set of safe states. English is hard. So we're going to go ahead and fill in all of the ones that I think Andy Beshear is going to win comfortably. This is going to include New Jersey. I wasn't sure if I was going to do that at first, but I do think that, we've seen before candidates have, had support go away for like one cycle. I think of John Kerry in 2004. Al Gore won New Jersey safely in 2000, but Kerry only won the state by under 7%. So then, of course, Obama comes back in 2008 and wins it by, about 10 more points than that. So I do think that New Jersey will swing back to where it was, especially with Andy Beshear on the ticket. He is sort of really representative of middle America, and I think that that is something that the Democrats desperately need in these times, just because they have been seen as out of touch by many people. That's a big reason why they lost the 2024 election, is just sort of not being in touch with the people, and I think that's understandable for why they lost, and I think Andy Beshear is a candidate that could bring that back. So I also, and this could be very interesting, but I'm gonna go ahead and pull the trigger. I'm gonna say Virginia is safe in 2028 if Beshear's the nominee, and the reason for that is the D.C. metro area, of course, up here with Washington D.C. and Northern Virginia. This region has been hit especially hard by the Trump administration, and it is not popular in this region of the country. So with these swinging dramatically towards the left, which is what I think is going to happen with it, I do reasonably think Virginia could get over 15 points. It is going to be like I'm not going to say that it's going to be this thing that is guaranteed to happen, of course, but at the moment, I am going to say I think Virginia goes safe. It might be controversial, but I think right now I could very easily see it being likely and being like 12, 13, 14 points. But for the moment, I think it gets to that magic number of 15. And it's the same with Colorado. I mean, the state has been trending left for the last decade and a half, something like that. So Colorado, I do think, is going to finally cross that 15% mark for the Democrats, Beshear in specific. And so that will wrap up all of the safe states. I do think that Beshear will regain ground in Illinois. I think he'll swing in about 4+ points back to the left to get it back over 15. It's the same with New York. So there you have that. Vance, of course, is going to have his share of safe states. These are all going to be states that he wins by over 15 points. That does include Beshear's home state of Kentucky, but I mean, let's be real. Kentucky is always going to be a red state. I think that Beshear might take this from a Republican plus 30 state to maybe a Republican plus 20 state, but it's definitely not going to get down into the likely category. So that is where I see this going. So these are all of the states that I think Vance is going to win safely. This is honestly quite a big difference in electoral votes, being 204 to 104, so it's net, I guess, advantage of 100 for Beshear, but Republicans, of course, make this up tremendously in terms of the states that they win by a bit closer of a margin, but are still largely out of frame for the Democrats at the moment. That's going to include states like Ohio. That's going to be our first likely state. That is where the vice president is from. And although Vance is kind of an underperformer in the state, this state has swung far enough to the right to where I think Vance probably wins it by maybe about where Trump was in 2016 and 20, where he was winning it by about 8%. So a margin like that would make sense. Beshear, of course, will have some appeal, so I could see it going down to leans, but for the moment, I think that Ohio is going to be over 5 points for Vance. It's obviously going to be the same in a state like South Carolina. I think this is going to get under 15 by a little bit, but not by much. And I think it's going to be the same in Nebraska at large. I think this is going to be one of those that come election day we see it, and it's going to be like Republican plus 14.9. So definitely still out of range for the Democrats, of course. But it does get into or get out of that safe category for the GOP. That's just how I see it at the moment. So the next state here that's going to be likely red, of course, Nebraska's first is going to be there too, but Florida, I do think, cannot be recaptured at this point in time. I think that the state of Florida is, it has been gone for the Democrats, but I think that if Trump was winning the state by 13, I think Vance might win it by 11 or 12. I don't see it swinging left by all that much. So Florida, I do think, is going to remain pretty solidly Republican. Kansas is going to be the same way. I think maybe 11 or 12%. The Kansas City area has been swinging left pretty rapidly, and I think we could even say that is reason to put Missouri as likely. But for now, I'm going to say Missouri just stays slightly over 15. I could be wrong about that. I may revise that as time goes on. I'm sure I'll come back to this matchup in the future. But Missouri, I think, being over 15 makes sense. Kansas being 10 to 12 points also makes sense, I hope. So there is that. I think Alaska is going to join the party there, being over 5 points, probably in the same boat as Ohio. So next on the list, we have all of the states that the Democrats are going to win by a likely margin. That's going to be states like New Mexico that have been pretty reliably Democratic. I think that New Mexico might go to Beshear by like 8 to 10. I don't think he'll outperform Biden in the state. For reference, Biden was winning the state by roughly 11. So I think Beshear maybe gets close, but New Mexico has been trending slightly to the right. We're just going to have to see how that goes. Omaha, definitely going to be back into the likely category, maybe by 10 points. We'll see. It's probably going to shift pretty dramatically, and that's why Nebraska at large is seeing like a 5-point shift. It's because these tariffs are hitting farmers hard. It's been in the news. I think that we could reasonably see Nebraska at 15 points, Kansas at 10. So, yeah, I mean, these rural Great Plains states, I think, could see some drying up, and that's why Iowa has not been categorized yet, but we'll get to that. Minnesota being likely blue probably makes sense. I mean, let's be real. It's the same with New Hampshire and Maine. Now, the next state on this list is it could come as a bit of a shock, especially given its competitive nature. But I think Wisconsin enters the bunch. I think that Beshear, of course, being this middle America guy, I think his unique appeal to this general region is going to be what improves his margins in these states. I think that just the way that the pendulum has swung, I think that Beshear is going to capture states like Wisconsin and maybe Michigan by just over 5. I'm not expecting him to be like Obama level. Like Michigan was 16.5 points for Obama in 2008, and Wisconsin was 14 points. So I don't think we're going to see that happen. But I do think Beshear does capture these two states by maybe around 5 or more. That's just where I'm thinking it's going to be at the moment. But that is going to wrap up all of the likely states. For the lean states, yeah. So this is going to be between 1 and 5 points. Maine second is going to be there. I think that, I mean, it's probably going to dry up a little bit. I think that, I mean, this is the conservative part of Maine, and I think that Vance just doesn't really have the same sauce that Trump kind of has in a lot of these spots. But Maine second, I could see going by maybe 5, maybe under 5. But still, I mean, I don't think the Democrats should really try to contest here. It's the same with Iowa. I think that it's like the Iowa's a big farming state, and I think that just how the Trump admin has sort of handled things like the tariffs and all of that, I think that is, and just the effects that sort of thing has had on farmers, I think that's going to hurt Iowa, or hurt Vance's chances in Iowa. Vance's chances, hey, that rhymed. But he's still going to win it. It's just going to be closer than he probably expects it to be. I know that it went by 13, and this is an 8-point shift. Not even to mention Texas yet. But I do think that kind of a shift will happen. It's not going to be like within reach for Democrats, but it could like tease them, if that makes any sense. I think that seeing Iowa get to this point, I think is gonna like tickle the Democrats, I guess, boners for the state, trying to send in a candidate that can win. And it's going to be the same for Texas. Farming, I mean, okay, so I'm from Texas, right? And there's a lot of farmers here. There are people that are pissed off, but it's not the same as Iowa. I think that the way Beshear swings the state by 9%, because that has happened before. Think about 2012 to 2016. I mean, Romney won by 16, and then Hillary Clinton won by 9. Or Hillary Clinton lost by 9, so it went Romney plus 16 to Trump plus 9. Okay, there you go. That's how you say the words. But it's like Clinton made significant inroads with Hispanic and Latino voters down in the places like the Rio Grande Valley, just all the way up the border, places like El Paso, and those really shored up for Trump. And I think that the whole ICE thing and how the Trump administration has tackled immigration, I think we're going to see a lot of reversion in those communities. I mean, I might have been hesitant to say that. But then we saw what happened in Arizona's 7th district not too long ago, where Hispanic turnout was high, and it reverted overwhelmingly to Adelita Grijalva in that special election. So I think that we could see a similar thing happen in places like Brownsville and McAllen, obviously El Paso, other places along the border, and like Laredo and all that. So I think that Hispanic and Latino voters will shift back toward the Democrats. I don't think it'll be overwhelming like it used to be, but the main way that I see Beshear gaining ground is in the suburban areas. I think he has unique suburban appeal as well. He has performed exceptionally well in suburban Kentucky. I mean, he was winning Cincinnati suburbs in Kentucky, so I mean, that was his last gubernatorial election. I think he won the same counties in his first one as well. But those are counties that voted for Trump by 20 points, and Beshear was winning them. So, I mean, he's good with suburban voters. He's good with working class people. I really think that, and of course, Hispanic and Latino voters shifting back toward the left, that is a perfect storm to bring Texas back into play. I think that 2024 was a fluke. I know that there's a lot of talk about, like, blue Texas. I don't think it's going to happen. Not for a while. Not in 28. Not in 32. Probably not in 36. But it could happen within the next 20 years. And that, I think, is perfectly plausible. And I think that this is where it starts. A good Democratic environment with a good candidate who can swing Hispanic and Latino voters back, who can swing suburban voters back and past where they voted for Biden, who only lost the state by 5.6 in 2020. I think that Beshear's just got that kind of sauce that could bring Texas under 5. Not to, sit and talk about it for 10 minutes, but, it's like, this is my home state. I care about it a lot. I am well aware of sort of the demographics here and how those have been shifting. So, Texas is going to be under 5, maybe like 4.5. Vance is still going to win it, because at its core, Texas is a red state. Without a doubt, it is. And I do think that Vance is going to come out victorious, but it's going to really give the GOP a scare. And I mean, it's going to be like Iowa in that it tickles the Democrats' boners for winning in the state. So that's kind of where it goes. A lot is also going to hinge on the Senate elections in these two states, especially because James Talarico is a great candidate for the Democrats in Texas, and Ken Paxton is notoriously horrible. So we could see that become super competitive. It's the same up in Iowa. So yeah, Texas, lean red. There we go. Let me shut up about it now. So let's go back over to Georgia. This is one that I think is going to lean in favor of Beshear. And this one, I mean, this is a state that's been trending left forever. I think Beshear is going to net this state by 3 to 4 points, and that hopefully doesn't come as too big of a surprise. I think that Beshear's strength in Georgia is probably not as strong as it is elsewhere, but I do think that he is going to sort of capture that Atlanta metro area. He's going to really swing some of those counties further and further to the left, because, I mean, the Atlanta metro area was probably the only big metro area at least, that shifted left in 2024, because pretty much everything else shifted right, but Atlanta shifted pretty notably to the left. And yeah, I mean, I think that Georgia just sort of going to Beshear by maybe 3% is not inconceivable. I think the environment will allow for that, and it was a similar shift from 2016 to 20. Georgia saw like a 5.3-ish% shift, and this would be about a 5.2% shift if Beshear wins by 3. So something like that. I think that Beshear takes it back, maybe by less than 3, maybe by around 3, maybe by more than 3, but it's not going to get into the likely category, not this time. So next on the list, we can chill over in North Carolina. We can look at it. This state has been just a thorn in the Democrat side forever, and I think that the Dems just have not gotten lucky here outside of the gubernatorial races, and mostly just like the statewide races outside of Senate for the time being, of course. But they just have never been able to win it federally. It was sort of like Republicans in Michigan for the longest time. So I think that right now, I think Beshear gets it. I think Beshear flips North Carolina like the same way that he would win Georgia. I think it'll shift by less than Georgia did, but North Carolina, I could see maybe even going by less than 1% to Beshear. That's how I think it could go. I mean, we've seen crazier things happen, but for my prediction, I'm going to lock in 1% for Beshear. I think he wins the state by 1, and that'll get it that'll get Beshear up and over into the lean category. So there's that. That also does deliver him the presidency. Yeah, I mean, it's going to be a good environment for Democrats, like, no matter how you cut it. And I think that the same thing can kind of be said for Pennsylvania. I think this is going to be a trickier one to really shore up than Wisconsin and Michigan. But I think that it absolutely can happen. Like I said, Beshear is a man of the working class, and I think that'll translate well in Pennsylvania. And I think that he'll win that state. But it's these two out west that I think could be a spot of bother for him. Yeah, because Arizona went by 5.5 for Trump, and that was a big reversion in support. And he won Maricopa County pretty convincingly. He made significant gains with Hispanic and Latino voters. I think I could reasonably say that Vance has a shot here, but does he win it? I don't think so, just because Beshear has... this is going to be a real hard one to crack. I think this one could also kind of depend on the vice president pick. I haven't set anything, but, if Beshear were to pick somebody like, I don't know, Ruben Gallego from the state of Arizona, it's like, I think that could make the state blue by obviously less than a point. I do think it's going to be hard to make up a 6-point shift that Trump saw from 2020 to 2024. It's going to be really, really hard to reverse that, but I think that it can be done. It's just going to be tougher, and I think if anybody can do it, it would be Beshear right now. I think he's got the appeal with suburban voters in the state. Hispanic and Latino voters, I think, are going to revert back to what they were, just because of course, all the immigration debacles that we've been seeing. I think that Arizona is going to move back over. But, I mean, I could reasonably see Vance winning it. Like, he could. And, when I say that this is a tilt state, I mean, this is like a true toss-up. I really do not know who to give this state to. But I do think that, given the environment, and also depending on the vice presidential pick, it's like if Beshear does have that kind of support with Hispanic and Latino voters, obviously that's not a big factor in Kentucky, but it's like that is a big part of Arizona, and suburban Phoenix is going to be very, very hard for him to capture, but I think he can do it. And that the victory is going to be delivered to him by suburban voters, if that happens. So that's how I see Arizona going. Nevada is honestly kind of the same way, although this is an easier sell for Beshear winning. Clark County and Las Vegas and its suburbs, that I do think I could see going to Beshear. I think it's going to be very close in these two states, without a doubt. But I do think that Beshear sort of has that appeal with suburban voters, and, of course, Hispanic and Latino voters shifting back over naturally, but it wouldn't be for Beshear specifically. It would just be dissatisfaction with the current administration, and I think I could see that happening in Nevada to at least a degree that that Beshear would win it and move the state back over into the Democratic column. Am I sure that Beshear will win these? Not really. It's like, I can reasonably say Georgia, Pennsylvania, Michigan, Wisconsin will probably go to Beshear if he gets the nomination. North Carolina, I'm a little iffy on, but Arizona and Nevada, no clue. Not in the slightest. So, that is going to wrap this prediction up. This is the final map, 319 to 219. This is a map that, some people thought might have happened for Harris, but obviously it did not. But I think Beshear just having that kind of appeal with farmers, maybe some stronger appeal to rural voters, and just his policies and the fact that he was able to get elected twice in Kentucky, the second time, of course, by more than 5%. I don't know. I think Beshear has a real good shot, and that's all I've really got to say on the matter. These two still perplex me, but, for the moment, I'm going to give Beshear the slightest of edges there. So that is going to wrap this one up. Thank y'all for watching, and I will see y'all tomorrow.